Hi, this is Jackie's Reading Room, and I'm your host, Jackie P. Have you turned some pages today? What day is it today? What does the word amor mean? How do you spell the adjective unconscious? To answer all of these questions, you need to activate the neurons in your beautiful brain. But what if you're unable to? For this second author profile, I'd like to introduce an American neuroscientist, speaker, and author of several books that are linked by their common topic of the brain and the ways it helps us, and it helps us in many, many ways, but also how it can fail us too. So, I am going to tell you today about Ms. Lisa Genova. She was born in 1970. She graduated from Bates College in biopsychology, and she has a PhD in neuroscience from Harvard. So, she is pretty smart. And one of the things that makes it interesting to read books by Lisa Genova is that she knows her topic so well. She knows the brain so well uh, that you feel like you're learning through a fictional story, but actually that talks about real issues or diseases or problems that people face in their lives sometimes. So you may know Lisa Genova from her first novel, Still Alice. I found out, and I did not know that she actually self-published Still Alice in 2007, and then the novel gained popularity. I remember it was very popular back then, and then it was acquired by Simon and Schuster in 2009. And since then, well, I guess there's now 2.6 million copies in print. Anywhere you go, when I go to a used bookstore, I often find copies of Still Alice. You can still find new copies as well, and it's been translated into 37 languages. You may also know that it was made into a very good film in 2014 with Julianne Moore, who plays the title role of Alice. And she actually won an Academy Award for it for Best Actress. So, um, very successful. And the story of Still Alice is basically that Alice is a Harvard University prof, and she discovers that she has early onset Alzheimer's. And we find out early on in the novel that she's just about to turn 50. Now, this is pretty much what is going to happen to me. I'm going to turn 50 soon. So when I was doing my research, I was like, oh my God, I have now reached the age that Alice, has when at the beginning of the novel. And it takes place over 2 years from 2003 to 2005. And you really see the evolution of the disease. So you can imagine that obviously anyone out there who has had uh, a parent or somebody they care about have Alzheimer's, it is a very, how can I phrase it? It's a disease that basically steals a big part of that person from others because they start forgetting, right? So it's both heartbreaking and also very beautiful in the sense that um, you get to see how everyone around Alice reacts to this new reality and has to cope with the fact that it's not going to improve, right? She's going to go down the route of Alzheimer's. Um, and she has Alice has three children and a husband, and they each have like kind of their own ways to cope, and their own ways to help her, or in you know more or less um, appropriate ways, right, depending on where they are in their lives and so on. And as a language teacher myself, and in the novel, Alice uh, is a specialist on language. When she starts forgetting the words, for me, I thought, I hope for I hope, I really, really hope that this never happens to me, because when you lose your words, well, really, especially when you teach, it must be tremendously difficult. So I really loved this book when I read it, which was possibly, yeah, 2010 maybe. And at that time I had some students read it. The movie was not out yet at the time, but there are so many ways that you can discuss this novel from the relationships point of view. You can also look at all the science behind it, and you can see that Lisa Genova knows her topic. As a matter of fact, if you are into TED Talks, you know those short videos where very, very good speakers are invited to talk about a subject that they are experts on. Well, Lisa Genova has a TED Talk that gives ways to prevent Alzheimer's. So that would be something that you could watch. Her second novel was published in 2011, and it's called Left Neglected. And it's the story of this woman who has a car accident, which results in a traumatic brain injury. And this causes the woman to suffer from left neglect. It's I think it's completely fascinating to learn about this through the story of a character that you can relate to. This woman is a mom, a busy mom who basically has to reevaluate her whole life because of this. And there's a play on words here. I guess left neglected. The left is neglected, and what was left neglected in her life. Once again, I have to say that Lisa Genova is really has a skill to show us the different relationships between the characters and between the main character and her children, and herself, because she has to relearn because there's a part of her brain that was attacked. She it's like she cannot see a part of what's, let's say, on a table. It's completely fascinating, and like I said, instead of reading like a textbook on left neglect, you get to experiment it through the eyes of a character, which possibly makes it more vivid, and but also maybe um, more troubling, but also um, you can possibly relate to that more, because it could happen to somebody who also has a traumatic brain injury. Um, the one of her latest novels. So she's written quite a few. I believe I have them all in my bookshelves, but the ones I've read, Still Alice, Left Neglected, and her latest novel, which came out in 2018, is called Every Note Played. And in this case, she tackles the issue of ALS, and we all heard about ALS when there was the ALS challenge. And in that novel, the main character, who is a famous pianist, learns that he has ALS. So as you can imagine, because ALS causes the body to degrade to a point where at some point you can't walk, and you can't even function. He has to stop playing the piano, and the his ex-wife makes the decision to care for him. And I really enjoyed that part where it's kind of it comes down to, okay, I understand this is my ex-husband, and there's issues there that perhaps were not solved, but what in the end, this man doesn't have anybody. She makes a decision to care about him, um, because once again, ALS. And after reading that, you really do not want to have this, or you don't want to wish this on anyone. It's a very, very difficult disease. You can, for me, it was a very interesting way of showing, okay, what actually matters here. Do I want to put my resentment and unsolved let's say, anger aside, but take care of this man, and who happens to be the father of their child. So very, very interesting, and but even more, I think, heartbreaking than the others. And Lisa Genova meets a lot of people who have these diseases to write uh, her books. The latest book that she wrote is actually a nonfiction title, and you know that from past podcasts that I read about everything. I read fiction, nonfiction. I read thrillers. Books that are more perhaps dramatic, historical fiction, and so on. Now, the latest book that she wrote is from 2021, so quite recent, and it's called "Remember: The Science of Memory and the Art of Forgetting." And it's on my TBR pile, long TBR pile, you know that. But I was reading the introduction, and this book really aims at telling people that it's normal for the brain to forget some things. We're not meant to remember every single thing that we do or see or experience. It wouldn't work. So there is normal forgetting. For example, forgetting where you park your car, versus she was saying Alzheimer's, forgetting that you own a car. So there's a nuance. So the book is divided into three parts. Part one is called How We Remember, and then I see here it's about memory and paying attention. Part two is Why We Forget, and part three, Improve or Impair. So and there's a great relationship here between our memory and sleep and stress. So I totally think that this is super, not only super interesting, but it's so useful to learn about these things. So if you are more into nonfiction, and even especially, I would say, if you have reached a certain age, or you've had to deal with a person in your life who had Alzheimer's, or who is just aging and starting to forget things, right? Because it happens. I think that this book, Remember by Lisa Genova, would be something to read. So that's for the portrait on this very interesting and successful American writer. Hopefully, this has inspired you to turn some pages. And if you're interested in finding out more about, for example, the memoir, one of my podcasts is on that. You can always go back to the ones before. And if you enjoyed, please share. Take care, and I'll see you soon.